it was sort of happy ending for me in the sense it's like
despite the robbery.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what like your obligation is to like stay there. Like, were you locked? Like, because you wouldn't be locked in to stay for a period of time, then, right?
True.
If you hadn't signed
on
anything.
the lease.
That's it. Yeah, and that's actually a very good point.
Hello and welcome back to the Sharehouse podcast. It's a place to air gripes and fun compromise. My name is Mikey D. I'm the mediator. To my left is Joel Harris and a very illustrious guest with us today in Jack Swan.
Are you applauding yourself?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm applauding myself being here. This is I think a special day.
It was a drive. You have a lovely haircut. I was going to say nice, but that was too much of an understatement.
I didn't want to draw attention to it. I just wanted it to, people to, make that decision on their own.
Do they do your beard as well?
No, that's all me.
That's really strong. It fades in.
Yeah.
You know how hard that is to do?
Yeah, I would not
I
try.
fucked it up many times.
I just go for the number 3. I'm like, fun number.
Yeah, 3 is
the magic number.
The magic number. Yeah, I was about to say
that.
that. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You may be aware of the Sharehouse. You may not be. I'm assuming
I'm aware.
You're aware of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Familiar with the layout.
Beautiful. And I believe today you've come with a gripe packed in, and it's a jam-packed gripe.
Yeah, it's a pretty hectic gripe.
And just keep in mind, it's a safe space.
Yes, thank you.
We love and support you.
I appreciate
Whenever
that.
you're ready, you have the floor to air your gripe.
We do have contacts for witness protection.
Good.
If you need it.
We are narcs.
Everything's going to remain nameless
okay.
so that I don't need to get to witness protection. But I will say...
In the off chance,
it's nice to know that there's that safety blanket.
Yeah.
So, when I first moved out in, I would say 2018, sorry.
Sure.
I moved in with a friend who was living with another one of his friends, taking over someone else's spot.
Your first time moving out?
First time moving out,
wow,
right.
Okay.
So it was a share house and the landlord was our real estate. So everything was done by cash at the end of the month, and there was only one person on the lease, and we'd never seen the lease.
Quick tidbit. Don't do that.
The moral of the story is always see the lease agreement.
Yeah.
So the dude on the lease was living with you as a housemate?
He got passed the lease from the guy I was taking over from.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a system in this house. There was a small bedroom, 2 bedrooms the same, and then a master bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Every time someone moved out, you would upgrade a room until you eventually made it to the master bedroom.
Wow, it's incentive.
Yeah.
Funny.
I was lucky enough that when I moved in, the guy in the small room had added a lock to his bedroom, and he was in Europe. So because they didn't have a key to his door, I automatically got a bigger room. So I was stoked.
I was just had it locked the whole time?
Yeah. So
my God.
Yeah, so
He wasn't paying rent though?
He was paying rent.
Oh, so no one's going to take that room then. I respect that.
No, and that's why I was like, I can't go in the small room. I had a partner, and I was like, I'm not going in the small room. You can't fit a double bed in. It was like tiny.
Wow.
So I got in a normal sized bedroom, and anyway, lived there for about a year before finding out that at the end of the month, when we'd be giving our cash to the guy on the lease, he was putting in, say, $200 while the rest of us were putting in, say, $600.
Wow.
And he would just throw in the rest. We'd hand him the cash. He'd throw in the rest, give it to the landlord. And then we were none the wiser until a lease agreement was shown, because they were eventually going to move in. They gave us 6 months notice. We moved out. 6 months, you guys have to move out. And then we looked at the numbers, and my friend that I was living with saw the numbers and was like, that doesn't add up to 6 people paying $600. And that was when it all blew up, and we ended up getting our money back. But the guy I was living with, who I took over the other guy's spot.
Sure.
He was living there a year before me, and he was doing the same thing, the guy I took over.
So it's 2 years of backlog of money?
2 years of backlog. He was out like over $1,000 over the course of the 2 years, 1.5 years.
Sure.
And the guy who took over our spot, who I took over the spot from, had moved back to Turkey. So he knew I'm not ever going to see that money again. I think I was out maybe like $600, which I ended up getting back. But yeah.
How did you get it back? Can I ask?
Well, because we were still living there for 6 months.
So you just got to grill him.
I just hounded him. I just said, like, I became very close with him, and I said, like, mate, I thought we were good friends. You backstabbed me. Like, this is your opportunity to make it right, and you got to pay me my money back.
Yeah.
And then I can look at potentially being friends again. There was a side note of the story was, he was in a position when the other guy moved out. He told him this secret. Oh, by the way, I've been stealing money from everyone.
So he's fully. I was about to ask. This wasn't something that was just. Oh, I don't know how to do maths.
It's a scheme, bro.
He knew, and he was a very timid character. So, which is why when it happened, I was like, bro, of all the people to scam me for money, I wouldn't have picked you. But he said like he was in a position where he felt bad because the guy who was moving out he was friends with, and he didn't want to be the one to blow the story. So he kind of inherited this problem, but then also at the time was like, well, I'm not earning that much money currently, so it would be nice to pay $250, $300 a month for rent. The rent was already, to be fair, I already thought this is quite cheap. We're living in suburbia Forest Hill. So I was like stoked. I was like $600 a month, not that bad. But then could have turned out to be like I think it worked out to be about $450 to $500 a month.
Wow.
What I could have been paying. Wow. So yeah, it was pretty
Getting scammed out a lot of money.
Just
under the table, broad daylight. Like did he just ask? He's like, this is the sum you pay me every month.
I moved into the rules. Like the rules were end of the month, money
in cash.
Wow. And then so it was like a few days before the end of the month, I'd just go to the ATM, pull out money, and then I'd just leave it at his door, or if I saw him in the morning, I'd give him the money, and then he would drop it off to the landlord. Still to this day, I don't know how we actually got the cash to the landlord. I don't know if he came over or
did
he
the
dropped it somewhere.
landlord get the cash?
That's it. It was actually
was there a landlord to begin with?
My brain goes, does this guy just have all this bulk money sitting around? That's how he got to pay you back so quickly. It's like, I'm just gonna hoard just under my bed.
And it was just and then that was the funny part. It was just sort of like, well, you're telling me this whole time I could have been paying even less money. I think it worked out to be about $50 per person a month extra that we're paying.
Right.
So it wasn't a stupid amount of money, which is again why I was sort of like, this is an obtainable amount of money for you to pay me back.
Sure.
And I want the money back.
Yeah.
But it was a
principle.
A little bonus when I did get the money back. But super awkward to continue living with him for the following 6 months. Especially because it was during COVID. So we were all locked in our houses apart from when I was at work. So there was a lot of awkward g'day, mate. How's it going?
So, I mean, a lot to unpack here. And the things that I'm drawing from it themes-wise is betrayal.
Yes.
Greed,
definitely.
But also, and maybe not as much of a gripe per se here, because I think it's going to be very difficult for you, Joel, to back the guy that's stolen a lot of money.
I got some points. See, that's a horrible thing to have happened to you. But if I have to sit across from you and play devil's advocate,
please.
I want to ask you, at what point, how accountable should you be to keep on top of legal documents that you're operating under? I feel like going in, you need to be acutely aware of the situation to avoid things like this. It's a horrible thing that happened.
If I may not just say this is just victim blaming the guy that's getting it wrong.
Hey, no. Victim blaming. I look, and that's fair. And the funny thing was, it was like this Sharehouse had been running for years and years and years before I lived there, before my friend lived there, before the guy who scammed us. It was just like,
it's because we're tens of thousands of dollars deep.
There was just like,
it goes to the White House, bro.
Honestly, I think it was the CIA we uncovered later. No, it was like there was rules as you moved in. It was just like, this is the way it was, and like it had always been that way, and everyone got like that speech when they moved in, and it was always just like, only need one person on the lease. Anytime I spoke to anyone with any renting experience at this point, they would be like, dude, sus as that you're paying cash, you're not on the lease, there's no real estate involved, it's just your landlord. The landlord was an asshole as well, and he would just like rock up at times. Like if we'd had a party, there would be cans outside, and he'd just be like, you guys are going to clean up your mess? And we're like, we would have had we known you were going to be here Sunday morning, but we didn't. You didn't tell us.
Sunday morning?
A lot of things that were wrong, and we were just like, I was just like, yeah, cool. But you do, it was, there were, always see a lease agreement, always. But we were just told the one person on the lease is all that's needed.
Yeah.
I moved in not at like a lease period. It was just like someone moved out, they got me to fill the spot.
Yeah.
So there was no signing of a lease. It was just like, you can move in like whenever you're ready to move in. I think I got offered and then was in the house in the next 3 days. Like it was just done.
Wow.
So there was, but of course, now after having the house after that, going through a real estate agency, I'm like, oh, there are so many more things you have to do moving into a house.
100%.
And there's so many things you have to sign. There's things you have to show them about your wage and stuff. I was just like, in this house and paying cash.
Yeah, 100%.
Super dodgy. Don't ever do it.
No,
the
point of my satirical victim blame is to call that shit out if it starts.
Satirical.
I can't sign with that monster. What are you talking
I
about?
think what we could do in this episode, though, is I think you're a wealth of knowledge that we don't really have. And I think there's so much that we could probably ask of you. Top of my mind already, 6 months living with someone that you hate.
Yeah. Hate?
Despise a little bit.
Massive resentment. Yeah.
How did you go with that?
It was weird, man. It was, you know, I had a lot of anger towards him. The guy that recruited me, a friend of mine from school, he was like really, really, really angry. So I didn't ever feel quite as angry as him because I think he got betrayed by 2 friends.
Sure.
Whereas I got betrayed by one, I think was like half the sting. But
he did a double.
he got a double whammy and a lot more money.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I think I was just, I don't know, I felt sorry for him in a way because he was also from Turkey. So he'd lived in Australia for a couple of years, like 4 years maybe.
Yeah.
So he didn't have like heaps of friends outside of his uni group, and like he sort of became friends with our friends, and then they would come over and they weren't giving him anything. So I felt a bit guilty because I'm like, oh, it sucks that like this has happened. But then I would remind myself like, well, you put yourself in this situation, you stole from everyone. But I think it was awkward. And then I'm the kind of person that I don't like living in awkwardness, especially like at home. So I think it was just for me, I was just like, look, you fucked up. I want my money back. He swore he was going to get the money back. I said, you got this much time. Let's make it happen. And then I think I sort of thought in my head, like, until he does something like not give me the money back or whatever, I'm just going to keep it cool.
Okay.
Especially because I was like, I want to get my money back. If I just start being an asshole,
Breaking
then he'll probably
something.
be like, well, you, I'm not giving you any money back. So I was like, all right, let's play it cool. And then, look, we sort of, by the time we moved out, we were sort of friends again. And it was like, oh, we'll catch up for a beer soon, man. And then I haven't spoken to him since.
Of course.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was just like, I just think we kept it like nice. Because as well, I was in a strong, like if we're talking like Survivor, right?
Yeah.
I was in the stronger alliance in the house.
Yeah.
At that point, it was me, my friend, his girlfriend, and then this other guy we got off Flatmates or Fairy Floss. And he was just like gaming in his room whenever he was home. So he was in his own alliance, but he was happy.
Yeah.
The other guy, he was in an alliance and got casted out. So he was on the chopping block. So like, I think for me, I was like, I'm in the much better position in this house than he is. So I kind of was just like, whatever, he's going to give me my money back. And like, he's the one that locks himself in his room of a night and I can sit out here and party. You know what I mean? Have fun with my mate and whatever. So it was sort of happy ending for me in the sense it's like, it's a bit of money.
Robbery.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what like your obligation is to like stay there. Like, were you locked? Like, because you wouldn't be locked in to stay for a period of time, then, right?
True.
If you hadn't signed
He wasn't
anything.
on the lease.
That's it. Yeah, and that's actually a very good point.
Oh damn! You should have come on it.
No one's ever said that to me before. I think, to be honest, I really loved the house.
Yeah.
It's still like it was just like I was one of the first of my friends, apart from the friend who obviously got me in there, to live out of home. We were both living together. It was like a hub for all of our friends to come because they all lived at home.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, I think just the vibes were so high there for the most part that I loved it. So I stayed, but also it was because it was 6 more months and then we were out, and I knew it was pretty cheap as well, especially now with the at a discount at the end of the month.
Or just the regular price, not even a discount.
Hey, look, it's a discount. I'm only saving $50 now. But it was like, I think I was just sort of like, well, we'll wait till the 6 months is up and then we needed our bond back and all this stuff. And like, again, the bond, whole nother situation. It was like someone missed out on their bond because someone along the line of people who were on the lease scammed someone into paying more bond when they didn't have to. So there wasn't enough bond money we all came in with $250 and there was $250 less than what.
Oh,
so like someone missed out on their bond. Obviously it was the guy who scammed us out of all of our money. I said, sorry dude, I'm getting my bond back. I think everyone else wants their bond back. You stole from us, so you can lose out on your bond.
absolutely.
And he was like, fair enough. So he didn't again like.
I'll get you next time.
So yeah, it was like, I think we were just sort of like, oh, well, we'll stay here and then we'll go through the actual rigmarole of moving out when we need to.
What was that like? I want to skip to that because you then had to move out with new people and you had to choose a new group. Were you a bit more paranoid this time coming round?
No, well, I was lucky enough that my friend who recruited me into the house and his girlfriend, we were looking for a place. And at the time, my sister and her partner at the time needed a house because her partner had a dog.
Yeah.
So they were like, do you guys want to come into a house with us? So we ended up going to like a really nice house in Mount Waverley. And we all sort of were just like in the need of, we couldn't afford to live like without a large group of people to obviously share the rent. So yeah, it ended up, we got a mint house in Mount Waverley and we're stoked with that. So then lived there for another year before moving just out with my sister. So that was fine because I had lived with them and I was obviously my sister. I grew up with her, so I knew that I would get along with her. So then we just moved into like a 3-bedroom house.
Okay, well, can't really be paranoid about your sisters.
Yeah.
You'd hope.
Checks.
You'd hope.
Yeah.
That's a tough first moving out of home experience.
It was a good learning experience for sure. Like I think for people, because fairy floss, I don't know, like you guys are aware of fairy floss on Facebook.
100%.
Such a massive thing. Like I'm still on fairy floss. I think like there's like 50 ads posted a day. Like those are the times where like even if we're all living together, you move out, we need to fill your spot, so we put an ad up on fairy floss. Like see the lease agreement.
Yeah.
Because these two guys could be like, all right, this is where we make some money.
Yeah.
We tell him that X amount of money at the end of the month. We're living in a nice house in Brunswick.
Yeah.
They're not going to question it. We know that on the lease it's only $1,800 a month and someone's paying
Wow.
So you just got to be... That's where like those situations, if you don't have a group moving into somewhere, you got to be super careful just like trusting someone on the internet. Because like it could be a friend that's stealing money from you, know what I mean?
Holy dooly.
So that's like always just see the lease agreement and put your name on the lease, because then it's like a casual employee. You don't really have that many rights. Like someone could just like let you go and then you got no shifts. Like if you're living somewhere, you want to know that like you're protected by some sort of legal document to ensure that someone's not going to be like, all right, you're out. And you're like, what? And it's like, well, your name doesn't even exist on this paper.
Yeah.
So like, what are you going to do?
So you can have your own individual contact with the real estate. You want to make sure there's a real estate behind that as well, and not just some scummy landlord.
Scummy landlord, because a lot of landlords are scummy people. Like they're just rich people who have that investment property and they don't care about fixing whatever needs to be fixed. They just want to get that check at the end of the month and
pay off their house passively. Sure.
Yeah. So massive thing is just like always get a legal document, because you never know what is going on behind the scenes. If you're getting scammed, if you're protected. And like I don't know a lot of renter rules, like laws. Sorry. But I know there's heaps. And like you tell someone something, and they're like, dude, you should have gone to VCAT with that. And I'm like, really? I didn't know. Like, you don't...
What's a VCAT?
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was just a cat.
I'm more into Persian.
So, like, there's so many things that, like, I assume that a lot of people are the same, moving out young, don't really know what you're allowed and not allowed, and where you're protected and where you're not. So, like, at least get on the lease agreement so that you have some sort of backing legally. Because renters have more rights than owners a lot of the time, like
especially nowadays really
so you got to just jump on it and make sure because I'm not reading the rule book, what I mean? Like, I don't know what's covered.
I'll watch a couple of TikToks on it. Take that as gospel,
and that's where I learn all my things.
So do Google, bro. Don't worry about it.
It's actually why we made this podcast. Wasn't just goof about, was actually to give people a little bit of a guidebook on renting. And I didn't know anything that you just told me then. I just said yes a lot of the time.
I don't know. I mean,
but it's so handy for people to know that we can put that out there and people actually go, okay, let's see an agreement. Let's
Yeah.
put my name on it.
Learned the hard way as well.
Yes.
So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing
No,
that.
no,
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you walk so we could run. Really appreciate
And
that.
I mean, look, and I'm not some downtrodden. I'm happy. Like, it was fun. It was fun. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's an enjoyable story for the most part. It's something funny that happened. It was so long ago now. It's like a blip, but it was just,
Yeah.
like, but also with that said, like, go for it. Like, live out of home with your friends and
Yeah.
make mistakes, make some enemies along the way. Like, if you all turn on each other, who cares? Like, it's good fun to have a beer on a Friday night with your mate that you live with.
It
You know
is,
what I mean?
yeah.
It's better than sitting at home.
And
with
you
your
never know,
parents a
you
lot
might
of
be
the
able to
time.
get a $600 tax payment.
Yeah, exactly right.
Jack
You might get some money back along the way.
who knows?
Well, there's some key learnings on this bad boy.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Hey, no worries.
Thank you so
thank
much
you for having
that.
me. Thank you for having me.
That's a shocker of a handshake. We're not
Don't
used
do
to
it
it.
like
That's-
You want to plug any socials? You make any beats in your spare time?
No, I'm not doing anything.
Do you want to plug just your day-to-day job, maybe?
my day-to-day job?
Not the company, just like what you do.
Yeah,
just plug it.
if you need any natural stone,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look down the camera. If you need any natural
Yeah,
stone,
nice.
DM me. I can maybe help you out. I sell natural stone, so go for it.
Let's
Natural
go.
stones. That's pretty sick. That's good.
no, it is.
Yeah,
it
I'm
is,
like,
it is,
oh,
it is,
we'll
it is,
cut
it is.
that. Hey, thank you so much for listening to The Sharehouse. You can catch us at SharehousePod at TikTok, Instagram. Email us, sharehousepod@gmail.com. And Joel, why don't you take it home?
Make sure to tell someone you love them today.
Bye.